How difficult a terrain can you go on this car with?
I don't think that most of the buyers would ever test the vehicle to its true capability.
Which is?
I don't think I would be able to test the vehicle to its true capability. For you to flip this vehicle, you would have to essentially make it a point that today I'm going to flip this vehicle, and only then you would be able to flip it. Once you truly want the car to give you the power, all you need to do is put your foot down. I am Pulkit Kaushik and this is my Hilux. I purchased it 2 months ago. I have done around 3000 odd kilometers on the vehicle. This is an automatic version. This is the High 80, which is the top variant which is available in India. I think I paid around 43 for the vehicle. So if you're driving at a controlled speed, let's say 10-20 kilometers, then you would not feel that the suspension is giving way. The moment you would speed up, no, then the car would start to go left or the right, it would start to dip. But off-roading is supposed to be done in a slow and controlled manner. On patches like these, which are, I wouldn't call this off-roading, this is just not a road. The car behaves very well here, as long as you're not speeding into it. If you're speeding into it, then the suspension would become a little wobbly and the ride would become uncomfortable after a point because the car does throw you around a bit. That essentially is something that is there with every vehicle. Every 4x4 vehicle would have this issue. So it's a part-time 4x4 vehicle. Essentially only the rear wheels function until you want the front wheels to function as well. The Toyota does not recommend you to engage 4x4 on a tarmac road. It really affects the drivetrain, it puts it into pressure. So you're only suggested to engage 4x4 when you're somewhere where there's at least a little slip in the tires. And then if your 4x4 high, which is 4x4, is not giving you enough power to go through the obstacle, then there's also a different transfer case, which is 4x4 low. And once you engage that, you get a lot more torque from the vehicle. You get a lot more control over the speed of the vehicle as well. 4x2 is essentially the rear wheels would work, and 4x4 is essentially the power would be distributed to all the wheels. This is not an all-wheel drive. The car would decide which wheel deserves more power, but sometimes the car fails to realize that one of the wheels is in air. One particular wheel is able to move. Hence the car is like, let's give all the power to that wheel. However, that does not always help you, especially when one of the wheel is in the air. So that's where the rear differential lock comes into play. So if one of the rear tires is in the air, then you can tell the car that please don't give power to the wheel which is in the air, and please distribute the power among the other 3 wheels. And that mostly gets out of ruts and mud and wherever that you're stuck. To engage 4x4, there's this very old Toyota lever here. This dial, it's on H2 right now, which is 4x2. While the car is moving, you just flip it to H4. If I do it right now, it will not engage. It has to be in a moving position, even though it will show me that it has engaged. It is not recommended, however, that you engage it while the car is at a standstill. And when this goes away, now 4x2 again, H2, H4, then this is H low. This is L4, which is basically 4x4, but with the lower transfer case. So if you're doing any sort of rock climbing, let's say, or if you're going through sand, let's say, and you don't want as much speed, but you want a lot more torque, then you would put your vehicle into low. There's a normal mode, then there's an eco mode, and then there's a power mode. In eco mode, the car will try to give you as good a mileage as it can, but the moment you put your foot down, the eco mode would get shut off temporarily, and till you have your accelerator pedal down, the eco mode would be off, and the moment you take off your foot off the accelerator, the eco mode would get back on. If you're in the normal mode, then the car just drives. If you're in the power mode, then the engine would rev to its maximum limit, which is around 4,200 RPMs, and only then it would change the gear. The way it essentially works is, to the driver, it will only seem as if the RPMs are the ones that are being controlled. The vehicle is much more smarter than that. What it is essentially doing is every second that you're driving the car, it's it's learning the way you are driving, and it's learning about the way you want the car to be driven. So if I'm driving it very gently, then the car realizes that the driver is driving it gently and it will behave accordingly. But the moment you put your foot down, then the car will show its true colors, and then it will simply give you all the power that you need. So even though the power mode and the eco mode might seem different, once you truly want the car to give you the power, all you need to do is put your foot down. City drive, absolutely great. You will not feel any issue at all. It does not even drive like a huge vehicle that it is. Once you're inside the vehicle, the only thing that you're going to face is that the steering is heavy. So if there's a lot of turning in your commute, then it's going to be slight of an issue. But if you're in a city drive and if it's just bumper to bumper traffic, it's an absolute breeze. You will not feel a thing. The gear shift is very clunky, weird sort of a gear shift. You press the brake pedal down, you pull it to your left, and then you move it backwards. I simply don't like this. It makes a lot of noise. It's heavy to use. Here, I need to I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through this process, but I sort of have to. Maybe it adds a certain amount of reliability to it. It does give you a rugged feel of sorts. So if you're looking for an automatic vehicle with a rugged feel, this is the vehicle to go for maybe.
How do you, okay, that DNS.
Okay, so D is basically your drive mode, but once you shift it to the right, now you're an S, which would basically mean that you lock the top gear that you would be in. So essentially, if you're on an off-road track and you don't want the vehicle to go anywhere above, let's say, the second gear, because the moment you go on to the third gear, you would not get as much torque, let's say, and you want it to remain only either in the first gear or the second gear. So you would take it into S and you would change it. So if you just look at the dashboard right now, what you see is S4. Now you see S3. Now you see S2. It's right here.
Correct.
So if you S3, S4, S5, S6. So if you want the car should not go above the second gear, so you just bring it here and you just leave it here. So now the car would have only two gears to play with, the first gear and the second gear. Now that you feel that the terrain has slightly improved and you can maybe take on the third gear as well, so you just put it here, and then your car would not go above the third gear. And when you are like, okay, so now the car can maybe handle itself, you just put it in drive and then you are good to go. The tire pressure in this vehicle you have to be really cognizant of, because the bed of the vehicle, it does not have any weight. And as long as the bed is empty, the entire dynamics of the vehicle is not what it was designed to be. The bed of the vehicle has to have some weight before you can truly experience the vehicle as it is supposed to be. So right now the bed does not have any weight. It's empty. Hence the drive of the vehicle is such. But once you have a certain amount of weight in it, then the vehicle really gets planted onto the road. So highway driving is a breeze as long as you have the right tire pressures, because if you're around 40, then the car does tend to jump a bit because there's no weight, if there's no weight at the back. But you get the tire pressure right, and then the highway drive is a breeze. Even if you're at 120, 130 and you want to go till 180, it's not an issue. The car will take you there without breaking a sweat. I have taken it to close to its maximum limit. Not recommended, but extremely fun. But another reason I would not do that again is simply because the braking is not as adequate as I would like it to be. So yes, I did that once, but I would even myself not do it again.
How was the feeling at that speed?
Absolutely stable. You will not feel like you're at that great a speed. You won't be worried while it is at that speed. It is only when you have to come to a halting stop that you will feel that, yeah, maybe this could have been a tad bit better.
Overtaking maneuvers.
Overtaking maneuvers absolutely great, because even if you're in the eco mode and you put your foot down, the engine just comes to power. It gives you all the power that is in that RPM band, and if you keep your foot locked down onto the floor, it changes the gear for you and then it gives you even more power.
How does the car make you feel when you look at it from the front?
Extremely aggressive. It sort of gives you like a monster truck feel. It makes you feel that the vehicle is going to be there with you, that you can rely on the vehicle, because it's just big. If I was given a choice, I would not have bought it. I can get it dechromed and it will then eventually become black and red and go with the entire color of the vehicle, but I am simply not finding enough reasons to do that. The stock vehicle only comes with the handle that looks extremely ugly. It simply does not add any character to the vehicle. This is something that I got done for very cheap and it adds a lot of character to the vehicle. Otherwise, it just ends up looking like just another pickup truck, which is used to load goods and not which is something which is an expedition vehicle. The rear of the vehicle is surprisingly strong. I didn't expect it to be, honestly. My plan was to get a metal bumper for the rear. It would improve my departure angle and it would then also give me peace of mind, because this is a long vehicle and somewhere down the road I'm going to end up reversing and then banging into something. And I thought that this would not hold, but I did end up banging it, and this is the portion that I ended up banging, and it held up really well. It had a few bumps and dents here and there and I was able to get them out very easily, and that was a pretty nasty bump that I got into it. The cabin is not plush, the cabin is simplistic, it's utilitarian, and the idea is pretty simple, because it's not only in the back of the vehicle that you're going to put stuff, because this is a utility based vehicle. I will be using it as an overlanding vehicle, so there's always going to be stuff here, there's always going to be stuff down, stuff is going to be scratching this and the other portions of the vehicle, so it also makes no sense to have a lot of leather in the vehicle as well. So the lack of plushness is there for a reason. If you're looking for a luxurious plush vehicle, this is not the vehicle to go for. Steering is very utilitarian. It does not give you a very luxurious feel to it. It has a very sturdy and a very rugged feel to it. All of this is hard plastic. Everything is hard plastic. This again, hard plastic, but it's there for a reason. If you have leather there and if you're using your vehicle ruggedly, you'll end up simply tearing the leather. The screen is very utilitarian. It's adequately responsive. It will not make you wait. It will not give you a lot of options. There's not a lot of customization that can be done. So if you go into setup, this is the speed at which everything is going to come. Of course, there's Android Auto, but there's no wireless Android Auto. There's a smart device link application which I'm getting here, which now I've installed into my phone as well, but it's not really functional. It says Wi-Fi is there, but there's no use case for it. It's equipped with it, but I have not been able to find any use case for it, and Toyota also does not help me with that. Navigation is essentially just Android Auto, and you plug in your phone. There's an Android Auto USB port here. As long as your Android or your CarPlay is plugged in, you will be able to access all of those features. Both are there. I've only tested Android Auto. I have not faced any issues with it. The ground clearance that I would get after these tires is slightly different than the stock, but I'm assuming I get somewhere around 220 to 30 millimeters of ground clearance, which is measured from the ground to the rear differential. The vehicle gets request sensors on the driver and the passenger side. The egress is great. I have no issues with it. These are electrically adjustable seats for the driver. For the passenger, they are manual, so I can shift them forwards, I can make them go back, I can change the angle of the back portion of the seat. The headrest I can't adjust, so I have installed one of these of mine, so that on a long ride my neck is not as strained. The thigh support I don't like as much, because there's not really a lot of thigh support here. I do believe Toyota could have given maybe 4 inches more of cushioning here, and that would have really made it a way more comfortable seat. I fail to understand why car manufacturers simply don't give it, because the only thing that you're going to use as much as the engine is actually the seat. So might as well have the best seats. Seat cushioning is good. I can't complain about that. Seat cushioning is great. I've done maybe 5-6 hour rides in this and I have not felt anything. So this is great. This really keeps you in place. This really makes you feel that you're invited to sit in the vehicle. You don't really feel them until you pay attention to it, but it really adds to the comfort. The Fortuner air conditioner that comes in it, and because the cabin is smaller than a Fortuner, the cooling ability increases by that much. So the AC is great. I took the car to Jaipur a month ago and it was 47 degrees outside. Inside I didn't feel a thing. It has a dual zone AC. Dual zone, the way it works is, let's say that right now you see LO here and you see 19 here. So in LO the AC will try its best to give as cold air as possible to the passenger, and to me it will only give it will try to maintain a temperature which is 19 degrees Celsius. I can change mine and then the passenger can change theirs. If you've switched off dual and the driver is controlling, then both the controls would change. The moment the passenger touches his controls, it becomes dual. Got a rear AC vent also, which you can't control from the front. If you want to close it down, then you have to use this knob. The temperature can't be controlled. It just works.
Rating is out of 10. Exterior.
Number wise, I would give it an 8, and the reason I'm taking away the 2 is because it comes with extremely ugly tires. The vehicle simply does not go with those tires. To sell it as an off-road lifestyle vehicle and then to provide highway tires on the vehicle makes no sense. Interior maybe a 5. It just makes no sense to spend this much money on a vehicle and then get this. I can expect a lot many more things when I'm paying that much. Driving pleasure is good because you have a lot of power at your disposal, so that I'll give it a 9. The features of safety, had the rear brakes been disc brakes, I would have definitely given it a 10 because it comes with that pickup truck also at the back. So there's a lot more safety in the cabin as it is there. And because of that, even if you get rammed from the rear, the passengers are going to be that much more safer. So as a pickup truck, it's just more safer than another vehicle on the road. But because of the brakes, I'll take a good 3 points off it and I'll give it a 7. For you to flip this vehicle, you would have to essentially make it a point that today I'm going to flip this vehicle, and only then you would be able to flip it. So from that safety point of view, it's perfect.
Build quality.
Build quality is great. It's Toyota. It's built to last. It's going to be there even after I am going to be there most probably. Value for money, you are paying a premium for the Toyota reliability. Let's say you're paying 5 lakhs for that, and then another 5 lakhs you're paying over the Isuzu D-Max for all the extra features and the extra engine power that you're getting. So yes, 5 lakhs overpriced, but simply because it's a Toyota. So I'll give it value for money maybe a 7.
Overall rating, all inclusive.
I think it gets a good 8 from me.
Positives.
Was extremely reliable, extremely powerful, very utilitarian vehicle. You can take it anywhere, very capable off-road. The car is very smart. It's not just that it's a 4x4 vehicle. The car knows what terrain it is on, which tire needs more power, and even the 4x2 version of this vehicle is extremely capable. And to then imagine to have a 4x4 version of that vehicle it's an overkill essentially for most of the driving that 99% of the customers of this vehicle are going to do. Ventilated seats should have been here. This system has to be changed. It can't be this clunky in today's time and age. When cheaper cars, when cars which are 1/4 of the value of this car can come with a gear lever which is extremely easy to maneuver through, it just makes no sense to have this.